Hi, welcome to AV Insights and Advice here with Clarity. I'm Brian and I'm here with Rob.
Hey Brian.
How you doing?
Good, how about you?
I'm so excited to talk about this topic that is stressing everybody out, inflation. Yeah, and how that's impacting the AV production world, the meeting industry, and it's on the top of everyone's mind as they're planning here this summer and really looking towards the fall events and how their prices have been changing, from all the different elements of their event. So we're gonna drill in and talk mainly about production. What are you seeing with your customers kind of on inflation and how that's affecting kind of their production budgets?
Sure, so we're seeing, across the board, I think people in their everyday lives, personal lives, are feeling the effects of inflation, which is one thing that's kind of happening out there in the bigger economy. But our specific piece of the world, what we do, we've seen inflation driving prices up for a variety of reasons. So, and I know we're gonna dig into some of them, but we've seen increased costs in trucking, travel, we've seen increases in labor rates, we've seen fewer technicians available to staff shows, less available labor in many markets, and all of these things combined are driving prices up fairly significantly in our industry, and our customers are feeling it, and they've asked us a lot of questions about it.
Yeah, we want to, what we want to do is help to guard against that and help to make sure that we control that as much as possible and make sure events are still being done at a fair price and at the right value. I think there's another element that is somewhat unique to our industry that in going through COVID, our industry took such a huge impact that it created a disruption in a lot of the different foundations of our event. So people, equipment, logistics, they weren't what they were before COVID. And so prices were already going up just due to scarcity, due to some of the challenges with that whole effect of an industry being basically shut down and then restarted. And now you add the inflation on top of that, that's in the more of the macro economy. And so you have a lot of challenges really in how your budget that looked in 2019 or 2020, what did that look like then? And what's your AV production budget now in 2022 and going into 2023? So what are some of the ways in which we can help mitigate that or help guard against that with our customers?
Well, I think there's a few ways. I think first is when you're designing a budget for an upcoming program that is occurring, from now until this sort of crisis abates, you need to think about the budget proactively. So it's not a scenario where, in the past, you could take your budget from last year or 2 years previously, make a small adjustment, and you'd be reasonably within the ballpark. We're seeing that, probably the best approach would be to start from scratch when designing an event budget. And so having to consider all of those things that we just talked about is obviously a big challenge for planners. But there are a couple areas where we can help them out. So, one of the things that we see is that sometimes people are hesitant to make a change to a company like Clarity. And the perception may be that, using an outside production company you may incur higher costs or the prices may be higher, but we're seeing this same effect is happening to the in-house providers as well. So prices are going up across the board, but we're also seeing service is not always at the same level. Yeah. So for somebody who's looking at an event, designing a budget, that's part of the equation because it's not just about having the correct equipment in the room set up at the right time. So much of this is about the team. To have that success year over year, the team is so important.
Yeah, a lot of those engineers are critical to the success of the event, and more than anything, if you're having a live event, it has to go well. Price is an important part and you have to negotiate, but it's really it has to happen and it can't fail, because then your whole event falls apart. So it's really about the people, and the different rates that you're seeing in the industry are definitely going up. You're gonna see on your quotes that you're getting from a variety of different venues across the country that they're significantly higher or they're less willing to negotiate. One of the things about working with a company like Clarity is we can make sure that the team that is coming to that event is talented and has really more experience than what's required for your event. And I think as your overall spend goes up, you're really looking at an option that's not dependent upon the convenience of in-house, really is something that can help, one, mitigate your budget issues, but also can really help make sure you elevate your event. So you're getting more value for every dollar that you spend. So the more dollars you spend, you want to make sure you're driving that value with talented people and with a partner who's going to focus on your event, in that particular week, in that particular time, and have it go really well. And I think too, being able to manage that spend going forward is super important. So, working with a partner who can then create efficiencies. So what I would say is the best way to really limit that, kind of expansion of your budget on the production side is to work early on in the process. Don't really wait till the last 60 to 90 days to confirm with your partner. And I think that works for almost everybody in the live events industry. What we've learned is we can actually work on a lot better budgets when we have more time to plan. If we have 6 months, if we have 9 months, what happens then is we can really look at all the efficiencies in the model. We can make sure we're booking our people early, we're making sure our logistics are in place early, so that time actually has greater value than it's ever had in our industry in the past. Before, everything was available, whether it was a month out or whether it was 6 months out. That's not the case now. Airfare is crazy, booking stuff early, making sure you're traveling people in the right way, making sure that your equipment is coming from a local area versus shipping it across the country, because that freight cost is just outrageous right now. So time, I guess, would be my best advice, is how can you save money on your production, is really engage earlier on and make that commitment to a partner as early as you can in your process.
Yeah, and whoever that partner is, that additional time does give you a chance to secure the best labor, the best equipment, and then like Brian said, to control the rest of those costs that are sort of out of our control because of the inflation that we're experiencing.
Yeah, one of the things I really empathize with meeting planners on is when they have costs that go up, but because of their revenue model and the timing of when they get their attendee registrations, or if it's an internal meeting, their corporate budget, they can't automatically increase what they're gonna make on an event. And that's really, I think, where partnerships come into play, and we say, okay, what can we do together? If our costs are going up, but you can't get any more revenue for your event, now you're gonna be squeezed as a planner. How can we work together to help solve that? Not only for this year's event, but really for the subsequent events, and how we can make them still amazing and remarkable, but make them maybe more efficient from a pricing and from a cost standpoint. So we feel your pain, we're in it with you, but we want to help guard against that, and we want to try to limit any costs we have to pass on to you, and we can only do that really by working closely together.
Oh yeah. And I'd like to add too, I think that for customers who are conscious about price like this, part of that would be, look at your partners securing multiple year agreements. So whether that's an MSA with your provider, some type of agreement that is giving you certain, discounts or guarantees for service across a couple years of your program. Controlling costs in that manner is really effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really creates that partnership between the two companies. It keeps your prices consistent, and it really helps us all have an amazing event and where we all do well by the end of the day.